to me, it's a great watch to remind you why Denzel is amazing.
This is one of those movies that I would put in my I love, but I hate.
His commitment to the role, to every single role, feels so
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Real Chums, where chatting about movies feels like hanging out with friends. I'm your host, Marcel, and with me, as always, is my co-host, Danny.
This week, we're discussing John Q, directed by Nick Cassavetes, written by James Kearns, and starring Denzel Washington. This film raises powerful questions about healthcare, morality, and the lengths a parent will go for their child.
Now, before we get into it, if you want to support us beyond subscribing, head over to realchums.com and leave a donation. You can donate whatever you'd like, $1, $2, $500, anything helps to keep the show going, or honestly, just to cover the cost of our Red Bull. But before we roll the intro, make sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode.
And don't forget to follow us on YouTube at Real Chums and other socials to join the conversation. With that being said,
let's roll that intro.
All right, Marcel, I have the question of the day, and I'm pumping this one, my guy.
Tell me.
I want to know, what is your favorite Robert Duvall?
That's a good question. We already did Gone in 60 Seconds, and I just absolutely love him in Gone in 60 Seconds. I think that might have been my first Robert Duvall movie.
Yeah.
But I think it's probably that one. I really like him in that. I know he's done a lot more better, and there's better performances of his than Gone in 60 Seconds, but there's just something that I love. The Apostle is really good. I don't know if you've ever seen it.
I have seen The Apostle. That was one that I was thinking. I was like, man, I love Robert Duvall. Like,
he's great.
He's phenomenal. I absolutely love him in Secondhand Lions. And I think the other one that I really like him is in, it's a toss-up between Four Christmases and Kicking and Screaming. He's got a comedy bits in both those, and I think he's like, I normally just picture him as like this like wise like grandpa / uncle, right?
Sure.
And I just think when he's on comedy beats, he's just so good.
The last most recent movie that I saw him in was The Judge. I don't know if you saw that with
phenomenal.
With what's his face? Iron Man?
Yeah. Robert Downey
Jr. That one was really good. Yeah. He was really good in that.
If we were going to do another month of actors, I would 100% love to do
Robert Duvall. Really? Okay.
Robert Duvall. Yeah.
Right.
I just think his early career I don't know much of, and so I think it would be enjoyable to kind of get a sense of some of his early stuff, and then revisit some of the new stuff and see how they compare to one another.
Sure. Yeah.
So amazing stuff.
He's great.
Things.
He's great. Let's jump into John Q. We're continuing our discussion of Denzel Washington movies. This one was interesting just because we'll talk about it in a second, but I'll give a quick synopsis. So John Q follows a desperate father who, after exhausting all legal and financial options to save his son, takes an emergency room hostage in a final attempt to get his child a life-saving heart transplant. As tensions rise, the film explores themes of justice, sacrifice, and systemic failure. Tell me, what is your relationship with this movie? How many times have you seen it? What was it like the first time? What's it like now? Go.
Yeah. So I think this is a TNT special. So I'm 100% that I watched this on TNT or one of those,
TBS.
Yeah. And so my relationship is Denzel Washington movie. Let's check it out. I was probably maybe 15, maybe 14 to 17 years of age when I initially somewhere in there when I watched this movie. And I've watched it a couple times. I want to say at least 4, but I think this might be. I was trying to think if I'd seen it from beginning to end, because TV movie you and watching movies on a plane, you find movies that will sit in that perfect pocket. I have a ton of movies that I have no real solid recollection of a beginning to end sort of experience because I watched it via television, right?
Yeah.
And so I think 100% is one of those movies. I think I was one of those movies that has heart. When I think about it back then, I have a lot of thoughts a little bit more as a father of a child now, and the heavy-handed questions that it raises in today's in still today in today's world. And I'm excited to talk about it with you because I think we both have pretty amazing um, like experiences with healthcare and like how it's connected, like what it means to us individually with different things. So yeah,
I've only seen this once
before.
before our viewing for this. I watched this right when it came out on like DVD. I know we rented it at Hollywood Video. We
Good
watched
old
it
Hollywood Video.
Hollywood Video, dude. And this is just one of those movies that like we watched it that one time. I had already seen Remember the Titans, right? So I was
Yes.
like, oh yeah, Denzel, he's great in that. Let's watch this. And I just remember being like, I mainly remember just like the ER hostage scene.
Yes, 100%.
I could not remember how this movie ended when I was watching it this last time.
Yeah.
And actually, again, it's been over 20 years since I last saw this. And I have a lot of thoughts about this. If I can preface this conversation, this is one of those movies that I would put in my I love but I hate list of movies that I have. There's so much love here, but there's so much that I absolutely hate. And maybe we'll get into like a real chunks rewrite because I have some ideas.
Yeah,
But
so I had a thought of like for me, I was like this is the most level movie and yet trying to do something big. Like it's feels so
yeah,
with some of the openings like little music sequences and then like the tension but trying to create heart. Like I don't know, I just feel like I watched it the whole time I'm watching this movie. I'm just like, "Oh, this is they were trying really hard to make something more than what it currently what in its current state what it is."
sure.
Um,
But like it's still like it's a great watch.
it
Like I
is.
I think this is definitely like a must watch at some point for various reasons that we'll get into. But like this isn't me dogging or knocking this movie down. Like it's I'm surprised how much I enjoyed it, even with the many flaws that I personally feel like the movie has. I still had a great time with this movie.
Yeah. Let's talk a quick character analysis. There's not a ton of them, and so I think we can just talk through a little bit. We'll focus with John Q or John Archibald as Denzel Washington. I think let's put him at the end so that we can loop him into the greater like theme and or some of the theme discussions that this movie brings up. Um, we have Denise and John Archibald. Denise is played by Kimberly Elise, and we have Dr. Turner played by James Woods, and then Lieutenant Frank Grimes as Robert Duvall as kind of some of the main characters. Denise, I just want to do a quick touch on Denise, unless you have something more. I think Kimberly, for me, this is probably one of my small gripes. I would do recast somebody. I felt like Kimberly was okay. She was like the overall it was pretty decent, but I felt like the energy and the vibe, even with like because of the tension and the struggle that this family's having with financial woes, lack of money coming in due to cutbacks from work, her not having to take up a low paying job. I just didn't feel like her overall like the level of energy that was being brought to the from the Dennis or from Denzel as well as the boy just wasn't quite on par. She got emotional and she did a really good job at some of the emotional scenes, but I think the other portion is where some of the other moments it just didn't hit for me. And I think, or it could also be some of the actual writing in this scenario with the two of them where it was maybe just weak.
Yeah, I think I would maybe attribute that to the writing. I feel like the script didn't give enough to Denise's character. I mean, and I think her like obviously her best line is like when she's on the phone and she tells him like our son is dying, like fix this, do something about this, right? And
Yeah.
and I think like obviously on in the script and she delivers that great. And I think on the script it took time. They took time to write that for her, right? Where I feel like every other moment that she has, maybe they didn't take that time, which is fine. This movie really focuses on John, the dad, and what he's willing to do and the pressure that he's up against, both from the situation that his son is in, and obviously the pressure that his wife has put on him and everyone else around him. But yeah, I don't know that I would recast the character of Denise, just because the script isn't there to like give me someone else, right? So I think like I think she is fine for what she's given, but I think I would have wanted more out of that character if the script had been written better for her.
I think ultimately, when it comes to the characters, I think here's the two takeaways I feel like I have. Number one is that I feel like Denzel Washington it feels as if they were coming hot off of Remember the Titans, because I think this came out right after Remember the Titans, or 2 years, 2 years. I don't know. It feels very on the same level. Some of the moments he has feels very Remember the Titans esque. Not too much that I'm like upset about it in any way, but it does feel like it's there. But I think the other aspect of this is that I feel like this entire movie, I just wanted a little bit more from all the characters. There's like there's enough there that I think there's enough there that it feels pretty good overall. But at the end of the day, I think just having a couple additional, like, especially with like, I think a bigger tension with Dr. Turner, James Woods' character, as well as some of the other like ER situation, maybe a flux of tension and release in that room. They kind of have it there, but it's not, there's just just a little extra writing that could have like, I think could have been really benefited there. Or, like, I don't know if it, because they spend a lot of, there's a lot of time in there, but it doesn't ever feel impactful, really.
This is my number one issue with this movie.
Yeah.
Is that the first 40 minutes, the first act, as we're getting to know the Archibalds, and then Mike being in the hospital, John going to HR, going to insurance, going from one place to another, trying to get like the help that he needs, right? Like all of that is really good, and it's dramatic, and right, he even has that line of where he's denied and he says, "I'm broke and my kid is dying. Like if I don't get approved, who gets approved?"
Yeah.
Right? Like he delivers these lines, and it's really good because the movie is pacing really well up to that point. For me, it shuts down when he not shuts down, but like it's a little bit wonky when he gets into the emergency room in the hostage situation because of the supporting cast there, the people in the in the ER. And like this is where like I struggled with the movie because it's dramatic, the stakes are high, and then like there's this shift in tone, and
it's
it
like
just
a full stop.
Yeah, and now we have these very like eccentric characters in here, right? Like Eddie Griffin is in this, like he just comes out of nowhere. He's like, "Oh yeah, my hand is bleeding." Like I'm like, "What happened?" Like it was just like blood all over his hand. And then you have the guy that's beating his girlfriend, and it's just like that, the dynamic there. And then you have the one male nurse that he's just like, "Yeah, I'll help." Kevin Connolly,
yep.
Like he comes off a little bit too strong. Like it's just the tone really shifts for me. And then you have obviously Robert Duvall coming in as Grimes, and like really like grounding the tone again, and the interactions that he has with Denzel. They're great. I wanted more out of that, and maybe I'm just in the mood to like watch The Negotiator with Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah.
But like I think I wanted more of like the conflict between Robert Duvall and James and Denzel. But like for me, that's the issue, is that I think that goes to what you're saying. You wanted more out of these characters, and we spend a lot of time in there. And I understand what the movie is trying to do in a sense that he allows someone that got shot to enter into the ER, right? The movie does this job at positioning, and you have to, right? He's doing something that is more, I mean, we can argue about this, but he's doing something wrong, which is holding people hostage. And in the movie, in order to get you to buy into it, we've already seen that he's a great father, but like the movie takes even more effort, unnecessary effort, in my opinion, to be like, look, he's also really nice with the people in here. And I think you could have just naturally written that out as he's talking to Robert Duvall, as he's trying to negotiate this, as we focus more, which I think I really liked, like the interactions that he has with James Wood, with the surgeon in the ER. I
Yeah.
think that's where we're really having this budding of ideals and morals, and we're getting to know more of like how the healthcare system is structured with the HMOs and all those details. So I like that aspect, but I think like everyone around just really pulled me away from this movie.
I feel like sometimes James, like Dr. Turner's character, pulled me out because
Uh,
the some of the like when we get those kind of butting heads of ideas, it's not necessarily like him. He's not opinion like he doesn't like it's only at the end when he's like, okay, well, if there's a if he kills himself, then I'm not gonna put a heart to race. But at no other point do I feel like he's committed to the Hippocratic Oath or to doing the right thing other than to line his pockets for money, right? But my other aspect, because I 100% agree. I think like I honestly, even though the characters are like there's a little bit of like a sporadicness to the characters, I feel like the cast actually could have been a really like I think having a strong nurse that like has a different opinion than the doctor that is doing the high end services that I love the one line where Connolly's character says like, listen, when they find out that someone doesn't have health insurance, they freaking give them a band-aid and then send them
uh,
outside, right? I also think that like this is such a 90s like perspective of like huge reforms have not taken place,
yeah,
and there have been reforms, but even like if you watched our video on our YouTube channel where we talked about what we're watching, did I talk about The Pit? Now
you
I'm
did.
like second
Yeah,
guess.
yeah, you
Yeah,
did.
so I've been watching The Pit and how much like the pressure of hospitals are still there, and it's all about patient satisfaction scores, and like even though the ERs are completely overrun and like the difference there, like I had a big issue with or like a struggle, not an issue, but like a struggle with the fact that like we spend like it could have easily been 35 minutes or 45 minutes in their time and like 15 or 10ish minutes for us where no police are involved, like, and then it turns into like this huge freaking thing. It just feel like I just think it's like they had a ton of budget for huge amounts of extras or something. I don't understand some of the story decisions when we have such a good opening intro that feels so personal, then we
Yes.
get completely unpersonal in like the middle to the whole end act. Even with some like to me, he doesn't push for anything like John Q. He's just waiting for the police to show up. He doesn't like call. He could have easily called in, "Hey, I'm holding these people hostage, and I want to talk," and then literally hang up the phone and like the police start swarming. No, we wait forever. Like we get like the pressure to solve his son's problem, despite the commitment that this man has to want to do something good for his son,
We
gets
don't feel,
lost in
yeah,
that.
yeah, we don't feel that pressure. And I think that's because the movie then takes this sharp turn to say, hey, let's introduce all these characters here, right? And
Yeah,
let's see how they're going to interact with John in this environment. And I think that becomes a detriment to the film because of the pacing, right? And you nailed it. It's such an personal, intimate struggle that we're introduced to in that first act, that first 30, 40 minutes. And then to all of a sudden like stop and say, okay, now here are all these other individuals. Um, and we have to now care. Like I'm already invested in John and Mike and their
right,
situation.
right.
I don't like, yeah, you shouldn't beat your girlfriend, but like you don't have to introduce this character
I
into it
know.
all. Like it's just unique what the movie does. But I do like, and I think this whole activity that we've been doing or decision to watch Denzel movies has like made me really appreciate him even more than before, because Denzel is able to just like elevate even like the bad dialogue or the bad whatever the script is here, he delivers it so well, right? And even like this movie would have been horrible had someone else played John Q.
It would have been so
Like,
bad.
yeah, the saving grace here is Denzel, because
Yeah.
his interactions with even the supporting cast that's in the ER that I don't like, he's able to help keep this going. He makes it believable for me that, yeah, okay, fine. This is John Q. Denzel is John Q, and he's delivering these lines, these interactions. And even I love the scene when he takes the one hostage out, and he's like, no, I am not going to bury my son. My son is going to bury me. Like,
Yeah.
a simple line that when the writer James Kearns was writing it, like, he was like, oh yeah, this is gonna hit, and it slaps just because Denzel delivers that perfectly, right? And this is what's
Yeah.
great about Denzel. And I'd love for you, like, look, we kicked off this series of Denzel movies with The Equalizer. We had a great time
Yeah.
with it. It's
Yeah.
fun. It's a good time. But, like, if you look at Denzel's filmography, like, he has a lot of, like, mid movies, like mid-tier movies. He
Yes.
does. Like, they're like, he has a lot of, like, misses, but they're good because of Denzel, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think there's another living actor that is able to do that. For example, like, I don't know, like a Tom Hanks, okay? Incredible actor. Also
Yes.
has some really, like, mid-tier movies. But, like,
Yeah.
those mid-tier movies, those misses are misses. They're not better because of Tom Hanks, right? Like,
Yes.
whereas Denzel is able to make a mid-tier movie better because he just commits to it. And like, I think that is such a unique skill as a performer, as an actor, to be able to, like, elevate not only your performance but, like, everyone else around you by your presence. And I'll argue, I don't think there are many actors that are doing that, or that can do that.
Okay, I love this take. In fact, I think that you can 100% see this with Gladiator 2.
I still haven't
Okay?
seen it, but tell me, go.
Oh my gosh, dude, Gladiator 2 is freaking so ridiculous, bro. It's so ridiculous. Like, it's just, but Denzel Washington's his performance in it helps to carry the entire film.
Uh-huh.
He's not as like he his commitment to the role, like you said, his commitment to the role, to every single role, feels so genuine. It
Mhm.
feels like, if he's supposed to be a serious but like likable character that feels relatable, he has that. You place him in a situation like The Equalizer or The Inside Man or some of these other more action style things. He is serious and down. He's down to business. He's a man on a mission, right? The moments when he does, like, that feels more like a family guy, like he warm and heartwarming. He has those moments,
Yeah.
and I think what it comes down to, and I don't know, I haven't done as much. Like, I need to do some, like, additional, like, rewatches of some of his old stuff, but also, like, look at some of the interviews. But, like, why he went into film? What is it that drives him to love film? Right? I know Keanu Reeves and Tom Cruise both love making films. They love the art of it, and they love the passion, but they have a very specific. They're like, this is the vein that I'm going to go to,
Yeah.
right? Denzel Washington, I think sometimes, like, I think a perfect example is Fences, right?
Yes.
Fences is such a specific, such a stylized, characterized thing, but it's so emotionally driven.
Yes.
Then you come back to Equalizer, and specifically Equalizer 3, right? He's pushing the age, but he carries himself in a way so excellent for what he's doing for that character. And I think that that's part of the reason why I love Denzel Washington. And this is maybe some of the reasons why, like Denzel, I mean, I think Remember the Titans has such a huge impact, because, like, there's something about Denzel Washington, his commitment, his line delivery
Yes.
that hits so hard that, like, when he understands that this is the delivery that helps to showcase the meaning behind the screenplay, right? That for parental sacrifice, like, what lengths will parents go to in order to ensure their children are safe and secure and have a life that is better than what theirs are, right? The morality of decisions that might take place in order to accomplish the goal, right?
Mhm.
His locks in on those moments, and because he understands and he can resonate with that, he delivers such amazing performances.
Even in this movie, right at the very end, he has made the scene with his son. Right, he's made the decision that he's going to shoot
Kill
himself,
himself,
so
yeah.
kill himself, so that way he can give his heart to his son. Right, and they're prepping the son for surgery. He goes in here and he tells him, like, listen to your mother.
Yes.
When you start dating, like, treat them like princesses, because that's what they are. And like, especially because, again, leading up to this point, we've spent a good chunk of the movie now in the hostage situation in the ER with these wild characters in here, and then he again is able to ground it back into what the drama of this movie is that this is a father trying to find any resource he can to help and save his child, right? And he grounds it again, and he just, the way, like you said it perfectly, he delivers these lines. He knows he knows what the writer is wanting out of this, and he is able to just commit to it and give a perfect, perfect performance. I was watching an interview while he was, now that you mentioned Gladiator 2, there was an interview that was going around the socials where, as we've talked throughout this month, right? Denzel started he's a traditionally trained actor, right? He started in theater and then had his big break in movie. He's going to be playing Othello on stage again this year. But anyway, they asked him, like, what do you prefer? Do you prefer movies or do you prefer theater? Right? Like, for you, Denzel. And well, they're asking the whole cast, and not Pedro Pascal, the other guy, that's in
Yeah, I
Gladiator
can't remember his
2.
name.
Anyways,
That's
that's how good Gladiator 2 was. No. Anyways, the other guy, he's like, oh yeah, like, I just love being in movies, right? Like, the staging and everything. But then they asked the same question to Denzel, and he says, stage, 100%. And he says,
oh.
because film is a director's medium, right?
Mm.
And theater is an actor's medium. And he goes on to say, like, I've been given a script. I've been studying the crap out of this script. And there's an important monologue, an important dialogue that I have to deliver. The heart of the movie is dependent on this character delivering something. And I am in it. I am delivering my lines. But then the director decides to cut away from me to show everyone else's reaction, or the editor decides to edit something or cut me out or whatever that may be. And that's fine. But like, I've been rehearsing this for weeks, and it's just frustrating that like I get cut or whatever happens in order to help with the pacing of the movie. Whereas on stage, there is no cutting, right? Like, I've rehearsed this for months. I've memorized my lines, and I know that this monologue that I'm about to give, the whole play rests on me delivering this. Like, I have to deliver. And I love that because he is traditionally trained, he takes that to film, and that is why he is able to deliver these lines, make me love these characters that he plays. And even in the chaos of the supporting cast that we have here in John Q, we have a phenomenal performance by Denzel. Every line that he delivers is just chef's kiss. It's just gold for me.
Thank you so much for bringing this up. I mean, truly, for me, I cannot. I I'm so glad. I forgot that he's classically trained and that he does love theater.
Mhm.
I forget that he does because I don't follow theater as as much
Yeah.
as I do film, and I think. But for me, what is amazing to this is that you know he is his whole the fact that he memorizes his lines, right? I think just is one of those things that like when an actor is committing to something as they start to memorize. And I don't know what the percentage is of actors that memorize their lines or like they review the lines when on whatever it might be, right? So for for all of it, I just think that like that commitment and that understanding of what is these moments that if I were left to my decisions as an actor, these are the moments that I want to have shine forth. And I think because of his commitment to that, when we watch his films, they carry a different weight than others.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think we should talk about The Rewrite because I think even though this movie is it's a good, enjoyable movie. I think it's a great movie just to throw on while you're like doing dishes or like, doing some laundry, just to revisit it. But I think that like we've expressed even like we miss out on so many of the key moments that could have made this a phenomenal movie, even at the time period of the 90s, right? Are you cool with that? You cool for if we do
let's do.
a Real Chums Rewrite? So let's see here. Where do you want to take this rewrite? Because I think that I'd love to get your perspective and you carry this through line. Because I think I have some thoughts, but I would love to have you drive this as the director.
Here's what I would have done as a writer. Heck, even as an executive, if we got this approved and then it turns out that we have Denzel as our lead, I actually would have changed this to become a courtroom drama. Bear with me. Okay. I would have completely changed this to be a courtroom drama, follow a non-linear narrative where we are in a courtroom and we cut back as we're cross-examining people, right? Those that were in the hostage situation, as we cross-examine the HR rep, the insurance people, all these individuals, and we cut back and forth between the present, the courtroom scenarios. We focus on the drama, on the character-driven motivations here as it's being told in a courtroom setting, and we cut back to him going to all these places. And then we cut back again to like, did Mr. John Archibald come to you asking for support? And like, yes, it did, but like we have this back and forth. One, we create I mean, we've talked about this. I'm a sucker for non-linear narratives, right? Two, we cut out the messiness that is the supporting cast in the hostage situation. Yeah, we bring them in, but now they're serving a very specific and succinct purpose, right?
Yes.
Small interactions that are now in the court, and we see how those interactions are now supporting what's happening in the court. You cut back the suspense of like, is he going to make it? Is Mike going to make it or not, right? But it's not that. Now it's focused more on what are the circumstances that led this man to this point, right? Because we know he's here. He's been arrested. We know something went down, and now he's in court. What led us there? And it's all being told from different perspectives. And we as an audience are putting these puzzles together into, the system failed him. His employer failed him. The healthcare system was not there. The hospital, right? And maybe part of me was just, I wanted more accountability from Anne H's character.
Yes.
Like she's like the board member lady, right? I think I wanted more accountability from that.
Yes.
Her character, she's so mean.
I wanted her to, I think they messed up by not making her a villain.
Yeah, because
like more of a villain.
Out of nowhere, like she just flips and she's like, okay, we're gonna put the kid on the list. And it's like,
but she decides to she wants to lie about it. She's like, oh, I'm gonna put him on the list, but lie about it. Dude, I love this so much. Okay, my question. Okay, I have two questions. One, still film, or would you do it? Would it be better as a series?
Oh, you can do this as a film.
Right. Okay. So my other question is, what is your opener? Like, would it be specifically sentencing, or would we have some sort of interaction with like organ donation portion?
Yeah, I think my opening would be, in order to like drop the viewer into it, it would be him getting escorted into the prison. You have some overlay of like news segments cutting out. John Archibald Q was arrested because of, and you're giving some exposition from that aspect. That way, once we're in the courtroom, we know this guy held an ER room hostage because he wanted a heart for his child. But
Oh my gosh, bro.
why did he get there?
I
Right?
want to write this movie so bad.
I think like this watching it, I was like, this would have played out a lot better. It becomes less, like I said, of a is he going to survive? Is he going to go to jail or whatever, right? But it really focuses more on the character of John Q, the desperation of this man, and we hold these individuals and the system more accountable. And I think that's where you can really dive into the inequality that the American people have
Healthcare.
with healthcare, right? Like I think
Yeah.
you can lean more into it, and the movie touches well on desperation, morality, healthcare injustices. But like
Yeah.
by making it a courtroom drama, like we can flesh this out more.
Okay, I mean, I love this. I love this rewrite so much, and I think that you've hit on the. I think the fact that we could peel this out like an onion, and as because we can set the stage, like we can have that opening first act can really lay out like what is it that this man is being charged of, and like set him up as like an individual here, like an individual, like a villain to some
Mm-hmm.
degree, right? Like I love the exposition thing. I think opening up like breaking, we're coming in live from a hospital in Philadelphia where a man is taken right, and then like we cut to some, we can be introduced into Lieutenant Grimes, who is getting pressure from his superiors and trying to manage a situation. We have a little bit of that, of a tension back and forth between police and with their right. But we then get, we have him getting walked out of, with the police or whatever. But having being cut, and that's like, the first 10 minutes or so, and then we cut to the courtroom, right? And
Yeah.
I think that what the courtroom provides is because it doesn't have to be. We need somebody whoever's the defense attorney, and maybe the lawyers who would have to play a little bit more of a role.
Yeah,
Whereas, and
I would put Robert Duvall as the lawyer, as a
interesting.
prosecutor.
Okay, yeah, I could see that. And so, and oh, that would be so good. And so, because of what the courtroom provides, is that I love that we could like, because what we can do is we can have the questioning happen,
Mm-hmm.
but then as they begin their story, we cut to the reality
Yeah,
of what is happening, and we get the understanding of like what happens in the courtroom can always be tailored to the side, right? And knowing that we as on the other side, right, as we playing out, maybe this is in favor of the hospital or whatever, but then have these moments that are cut in between these courtroom and the reality provides a better juxtaposition for the story narrative to carry through. I think where it would really shine is in that middle act that helps us to understand the pressure that, character witnesses would have,
yeah,
as because like the first, like the whole beginning out with like the two music montages that happen are so like it feels they're good, but if it's such a build up to just getting to us being dropped off, having a character witness that then has these moments that where like you get to showcase the same things that they deal in the original, having this remake helps to amplify who this set this that what the character witnesses are for, right? On the flip side, it doesn't feel as this is actually I totally forgot about, but I remember writing down the fact that like this is why our news today sucks. This movie is like this epitome, like a perfect pinpoint of like showcasing what is it the news like. If it bleeds, it leads. If we're trying to find this game winning, the white, what does he call him, the white rhino, the white elephant
oh yeah, yeah.
story,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. His
right? The news reporter,
his white Bronco, right?
his
Referring
white bronco.
to O.J. Simpson.
Correct. Right. And so having this element, right? How much context doesn't play in news anymore. And the context is people's opinions nowadays,
Mm-hmm.
right? When it comes to news coverage, right? And so I just think that how much just the benefit of like amplifying, even having some other character witnesses like, listen, you're an expert in this field. What is happening with the healthcare? Can you explain to us what the process is for this, right? And then have not only like them, this is how it works. Have the interaction with some of the dialogue of with the director of the hospital, but also then juxtaposing that with the reality of what internal as he's holding all these characters hostages of whatever, Dr. Turner, you don't care what happens on the fifth down here with everybody on a day-to-day basis when you sit up there waiting for your special check to come in or your special projects, special hospital when people can have the money to pay it. And just man, that's amazing. Here's I guess my question would be, in this courtroom drama, what would be the key where would be the key flashbacks that carried the biggest lift, and how would your rewrite incorporate a better emotional personal connection between a John Archibald, and his son, and his commitment to what he's trying to do for his son and his wife?
Yeah, I think the main flashbacks that I think would help drive this would be the systemic failures, right? Whether that's him going to like his cross witness like his HR rep, the insurance company. Like, did he really? Because I'm trying to remember what it was that he was exonerated from. I think it was like
he was exonerated from.
It was like 3 or 4 things, right? And then
it was like 2 things, I think, and then he
2 things,
he
and
was
then
convicted of holding people hostage, right?
he was convicted of one thing, and then like the lawyer's like, oh, I'll get it down to 2 years or something like that, right?
Yeah. And then, but he was not convicted of like armed threatening of assault or something, or
yeah. Either way, I think like I would want to see like how the system failed him. Those are the key like flashbacks that we would need to focus on. I think because we do need to have like a villain or not a villain, but like accountability, right? We really lean into like the interactions of like him and like the board of directors of this hospital.
I actually think the board of directors with the other members of the team, right? There's the girl who is part of the team who's like, don't take no for an answer, right?
Yeah.
And I think that like her, like having this like John versus the hospital, and having that depiction like in more aggressively both on the hospital end and on John's and his family and the Archibalds end could really benefit in adding the juxtaposition of how to drive home the healthcare inequality.
Yes.
Drive home the disparity in the desperation that some families face when visiting healthcare institutions here in America.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this was done by New Line Cinema, so Warner Brothers owns. Dude, make this a Max limited series, right?
Oh.
Like, you could do like 6, 7 episodes out of this and like really lean into it.
Oh, I think you could do more than that.
Yeah, that's true.
I think if you're gonna make it a limited series, not like whatever, I would say you either make it 8 to 12.
That right? Long. Here's the thing, but like here's the other thing. Like courtroom dramas, people are cautious of courtroom dramas.
Yeah.
Right. They're not big fans of like the market is limited for something like that. I'm a courtroom drama fan. Like I love them, too. But I think not dragging it out, but like doing 10 episodes might be too much for people.
Okay. I think 10 episodes is great. I mean,
and it's so timely. I mean, let's jump into it. Like, yeah, since 2002, we've had Obamacare introduced, and we've, as an American society, have tried to make healthcare more accessible. There's still lots of progress that we need to make, but the most recent like events that have happened in November with the CEO of United Healthcare, and the way that the public reacted for or against the incident.
Yes,
I think this is obviously a very like relevant topic.
Hugely relevant. I think this is the thing that Sadie has been watching a courtroom drama. Is it Boston Legal? James Spader plays in like a 2010 series.
Boston Legal, yeah.
I think it's Boston Legal. And in it has so many cases. She like mentions like how much there's so many cases that they do that highlight things that we're still battling today.
Yeah.
And I think this film is another thing. It's just like the only difference is that like the the disparity that comes from like not having a ability is there. But I think the on the flip side today is like the mounting medical debt that many Americans are facing. Because now it's not about being turned away. I think that hospitals and physicians have doubled down on we need to help these individuals.
Mm-hmm.
We want to help these individuals. But then what happens
But
is that but then they say they allow the system to ruin individuals because there isn't other resources or like the help that individuals they are told that they can manage the like we'll put you on a plan. But the amount of that medical debt destroys these families. Slash on the other side, because I still think that the organ donor situation is still a huge driving portion that like still faces like, can we get a donor? How soon can we get a donor? How long you're on the donor list? Can you even get on the donor list? Right? All of those things I still think are pretty relevant. But I think that when it comes to the hospital side, I think it's a lot more of the like, are is the I want the it's no longer about like can I get medical, it's like can I get the best medical like service,
sure, yeah,
right? And how that impacts in like the lives of these individuals, right? And easily it and the reality comes down to the is that so many, despite the changes that have taken place, is become even more difficult. And on the other side of this is the amount of aggression that police force will take in situations that like this would have happened. There is no doubt in my mind. In fact, I almost feel that talking this through, I almost feel like what would happen to this story if this story came from the son's perspective and this and as like slightly older and realizing, or maybe not older, but like maybe it's the wife's just like if John is killed in the hospital because the police aren't going to take the action. And in the courtroom, it's about they're going after the family, Denise, or maybe, anyways, some other, maybe it's the aggression that comes into play, right?
yeah,
Because police force have been more militarized due to the amount of, because like they talk about it like anyone, like they mention a small portion of like, well, anyone could get a gun, or they mentioned that like nowhere is safe, everyone, it's always dangerous, right? Other things that have even amplified even more so now. I mean, thankfully, like people are, I mean, what's worse is that like most of the time when these big hostage or like these dangerous situations are happening, they're not happening in hospitals.
right.
They're happening in the place that we want it not to happen ever, which is schools. So I don't know.
No, it's interesting that the movie again, 2002. The movie like uses three main like hot like
hot topic buttons.
societal topic buttons, yeah, that are still extremely relevant today for as like story plots, which is our healthcare inequality, the easy access to guns, and then like an aggressive force, a police force, right? Like these are three very like hot topics, triggery topics in society, and like the movie attempts to like to address all three. It focuses more on like on healthcare inequality. But I again like a limited series nowadays that can really lean into like these are three big issues that we have in our society, and it's being put on like at court, and it's being addressed more directly in court. I think can make for a beautiful like drama series. Like
100%.
look, Max, who's the CEO? SAS Lab. Look, you've got us here. We'll be your showrunners. Give us the budget. Give us the budget.
We'll do the research. We'll talk to the people. We'll write it up. We'll put the writer room to work.
We'll find the writers. And like we could make like a really good limited series. It's topical. It's impactful. Look, I'll even cast Michael B. Jordan as John Q.
I was thinking, I was like, I would totally put Michael B. Jordan as the main actor here. I think that he would kill it just as much as Denzel would. I think it's still relevant. Yeah, I think that it would be this movie. I think your rewrite is phenomenal, and I truly the more I think about it, I'm like, what would it take? What would it take to write a script and pitch it, to repitch it?
We got to reach out to James Kearns, the writer of this one.
Yeah.
Look, I want to finish with, what do you, I mean, we've talked about this, but like at the end of the day, what is this movie trying to say? There's a lot of themes here. There's a lot of topics that the movie's wanting to get to, but like at the end of the day, what's it saying? Who's at fault? What's the problem? Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that the biggest thing that they're trying to say is that every individual people who don't have access and means are being left behind, and systems that are there to help us be there for our loved ones don't make it easy, is what I think that they're trying to say, right? And that to some people, to some of those individuals, they feel that there is no other option. And as a society, to a degree, we end up failing them, right? Unfortunately, right? Many of the, like, like this idea of like us rallying, now we have GoFundMe's, right? People try to,
Yeah.
this is what it's come down to, is that, whole industries have been made to help individuals who are struggling with a giant medical situation. And because the system isn't there to help support it, which is awesome, right? And I think that is great. On the other side is that, like, to some degree, some other individuals don't have those, they don't even think they could get that, right? But they don't do anything. The extreme that they do is actually, completely fall into almost worse situations, drugs and alcohol, or neglect, or abandonment. The amount of the emotional impact that it causes a family because it breaks them. And I think that this is something that, like, this is one of those things where, like, I almost felt like, would this break Denise and John? Like, it felt like that was going to happen, right? But they come in and she's like, I'm a Christian woman. And I think that, like, okay, well, even Christian women today, and Christian families today are broken due to the unrivaled pressure that comes from situations like this,
Yeah.
right? I know of a good friend who, the family, of a medical situation happened, the external family completely did something that was crazy, which is and I don't want to share it because it's not my story to tell. So, but ultimately, what it comes, I was shook at what they did and what was left for this mother, and that wasn't able to be there for her husband. And which is, like, there's just so much additional like pressure that comes to in medical situations specifically, right? That you never can count for. I think this is actually like a series that is trying to tackle this idea of what lengths will people go, is the new show Paradise with Sterling Brown. The whole idea is that, like, the world's going to end, and this one super rich billionaire creates a bunker under a mountain, whatever, in Denver, to save the amount of people, a select amount of people
That can afford
and
it.
even though it's a crime drama, but it's about her desire to keep a promise to her dying son. Anyways,
No, I think that's great. I think for me, it's just like the systems that are put in place that are supposed to help us, how they in reality fail. A lot of
yeah,
individuals, right? And one of the scenes that, like, really, like, I'd forgotten completely about. And again, in my rewrite, I think I would flesh this out more. But like, he goes to the news station, and he tells the
yes,
one investigative journalist, like, "Hey, this is my situation. Like, here's what's happening." And the guy goes, "I think you have a great story, but I also have bosses that I need to run this by." Right? And like, for him, you mentioned, like, for us, like, we would go to GoFundMe, put it on social media, and like try to crowdsource the support that we would need for something like this, right? Back then, like, you go to the news, but even here, the news failed him because the system, he had to go and like check his boss. And in my rewrite, what I would do is, like, the owner of like the newscast is actually like an investor of like the hospital. And so, like, so like the guy's like, I don't know, I can air this because of the conflict of interest here. Like, I might lose my job because of it. And again, the systemic programs put in place fail John in my rewrite. But that's I think at the end of the day, that's what this movie is trying to tell us, right? And it's beautiful to see the love that like a father has, that he would go to, the extreme measures that he'll go to save their child when they have their back against the wall. And it's, again, beautifully delivered and performed by Denzel. And again, I love and I hate this movie, but I love it because of Denzel and these themes. And it's just, but one thing's for sure, like this movie would not be anywhere near as good if it wasn't for Denzel. If it was someone else doing this character of John Q at this time in 2002, this movie would not.
I'm happy we rewatched this. I'm happy that this is the movie we chose. It's just it's a reminder that, like, I think I've said it once and I'm going to say it again, that like, just because a movie isn't on streaming doesn't mean we shouldn't go check out. I actually, this is a movie that I 100% wish, like, this is a movie that I would, this is where Blockbuster, the fact that we don't have Blockbuster does us a disservice, right? Despite the gripes that we shared and the rewrite that we would love to have, this is overall, it's a heartfelt movie, and it's just lacked a little bit of extra love in the writing room. But to me, it's a great watch as if you want to like watch a good Denzel film to remind you why Denzel is amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yes. There was an article that the Hollywood Reporter did at the beginning of this year in January. I'll link it below in the show notes, but they actually interviewed the producer of this, Mark Berg, and talking about the events that happened in New York with United Healthcare. He says, quote, "When I heard about what happened in New York, the first thing that went through my head was, oh my God, this guy took John Q to the next level." While proud of his film, Mark Berg adds, "It's sad that it's still relevant."
Yes, man. What a wonderful quote to end on. Or sad quote? I don't know if that's wonderful. Just like it's
a relevant quote.
Relevant quote. There you go.
There we go. Look, we hope you enjoyed today's episode discussing John Q. Don't forget to subscribe on whatever platform you get your podcast. And if you like this episode, please leave a review. It really helps us get discovered.
And more importantly, what did you think about this movie? Did you watch it? If you did, let us know by following us on social at Real Chums to give us your thoughts and opinions. Would you watch a rewrite of a limited series of a courtroom-based drama around John Q?
Should I do a GoFundMe and get this crowdsourced and we can film it ourselves? Look, right. Join us next week as we discuss our last Denzel Washington movie, The Hurricane. This is on Prime, so if you have Prime, go check it out.